Double Betrayal. Chapter 1. The Shattered Illusion. Nashville, Tennessee, May 2025. The Nashville evening was a symphony of cicadas and distant traffic, the air warm with the promise of summer, a deceptive calm that belied the storm brewing in Sarah Thompson's life. She sat at the kitchen table of her suburban home, her blue eyes fixed on the laptop screen, her blonde hair pulled back in a messy bun, her hands trembling as she scrolled through a folder labeled Work Docs. At 36, Sarah was a meticulous accountant, her life a carefully curated balance of routine and love until now. The folder, hidden deep in her husband Mark's computer, contained photographs and documents that shattered her world. The first photo showed Mark, 38, his green eyes sparkling with a smile Sarah hadn't seen in years, his arm around a woman with dark hair and a toddler clinging to his leg. The background was a park in Texas, Houston. Judging by the skyline, more photos followed. Mark at a child's birthday party. Mark at a school play. Mark with a life? Sarah didn't know. Documents came next. Lease agreements for a house in Houston. Utility bills in his name. A birth certificate for a boy named Ethan, 3 years old. Listing Mark as the father, Sarah's breath caught, her blue eyes wide, her heart a hammer in her chest. She'd suspected something was wrong for months. Mark's late nights, his excuses about business trips, his distracted demeanor. But this was beyond betrayal. He had another family, another life, and she'd been blind to it all. Her hands shook as she printed the evidence, her mind racing. The Nashville night, a cold witness to her unraveling. Mark arrived home an hour later, his green eyes tired, his suit rumpled, his dark hair tousled from a long day. "Hey, babe," he said, his voice casual, dropping his briefcase by the door. "Rough day at the firm. You okay? You look pale." Sarah stood, her blue eyes blazing, her voice trembling with rage as she held up the printed photos. "Who are they? Mark, who the hell are they? Another wife? A son? How long have you been lying to me?" Mark's face paled, his green eyes wide, his hands raising in a futile defense. "Sarah, I can explain," he stammered, his voice breaking. "It's not what you think, not what I think." Sarah's voice rose, her hands shaking as she threw the photos at him, the papers scattering across the hardwood floor. "You have a whole other family in Texas. Mark, a wife, a kid, everything. How could you do this to me? To us?" Mark's shoulders slumped, his green eyes glistening, his voice low. "Her name's Lisa," he said, his words a confession. "We met 5 years ago, on a trip. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I love you. Sarah, I do. But I love them, too." Sarah's heart shattered, her blue eyes streaming, her voice a whisper. "Love me. You don't know what love is. Mark, get out now. We're done." Mark hesitated, his green eyes pleading, but Sarah's glare was unyielding, her hands clenching as she pointed to the door. He grabbed his briefcase, his voice a whisper as he left. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I never meant to hurt you." The door closed, the silence deafening. The Nashville night, a cold witness to Sarah's resolve. She sank to the floor, her blue eyes fixed on the scattered photos, her mind a storm of rage and betrayal. Mark had destroyed her, But she wouldn't let him win. She'd make him pay, expose his lies, ruin his life, let the world see who he really was. She'd start with Lisa, his other wife, and she'd tear down everything Mark held dear. As she gathered the papers, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You don't know the half of it, Sarah. Dig deeper." Her blue eyes widened, her heart racing. The cryptic words, a spark to her revenge. Mark's betrayal was just the beginning, and Sarah was ready to uncover the rest, no matter the cost. Double Betrayal. Chapter 2. The Other Woman. Houston, Texas, May 2025. The Houston afternoon was a haze of heat and humidity, the city's skyline shimmering under a relentless sun, a stark contrast to the cold fury burning in Sarah Thompson's chest. She sat in a quaint coffee shop near downtown, her blue eyes scanning the door, her blonde hair tucked under a baseball cap, her hands clutching a cup of coffee she hadn't touched. At 36, Sarah was a woman on a mission, her life shattered by her husband Mark's betrayal, a double life with another family in Texas. The photos, the documents, his confession, they'd fueled her resolve to destroy him, starting with the woman who shared his lies. Lisa. Sarah had found Lisa easily enough. A quick search through the documents revealed her name. Lisa Harper, 34, a third-grade teacher at a local elementary school. A fake social media account, a message posing as an old college friend of Mark's, and Lisa had agreed to meet. Unaware of the storm Sarah was about to unleash, Sarah's blue eyes narrowed as the door opened. A woman with dark hair and warm brown eyes stepping in. Her smile hesitant but genuine. "Sarah," Lisa said, her voice soft, her brown eyes curious as she approached the table. "It's so nice to meet you. Mark's mentioned his college friends before, but I don't think he ever talked about you." Sarah forced a smile, her blue eyes masking the rage beneath, her voice steady. "He wouldn't have," she said, gesturing to the chair. "We lost touch for a while. I was in the area, thought I'd reconnect. How's Mark doing?" "He's always been full of surprises." Lisa sat, her brown eyes lighting up, her smile warm. "He's great. Thanks for asking. Busy with work. As always, his accounting firm keeps him on the road a lot, especially in Nashville. But he's a wonderful husband, an amazing dad to Ethan. We're lucky to have him." Sarah's heart twisted, her blue eyes darkening, her hands clenching under the table. A wonderful husband, words that cut like a knife. A lie Lisa believed with all her heart. She leaned forward, her voice low, her smile fading. "Lisa, there's something you need to know. Mark isn't who you think he is. He's been lying to you, to both of us." Lisa's brown eyes widened, her smile faltering, her voice trembling. "What do you mean? Lying about what?" Sarah pulled the photos from her bag, her blue eyes cold as she slid them across the table, her voice a whisper. "I'm his wife, Lisa, his real wife in Nashville. We've been married for 10 years. You're the other woman. And I didn't even know you existed until last week." Lisa's hands shook as she picked up the photos, her brown eyes streaming, her voice breaking. No, this can't be true. Mark loves me, loves Ethan. He couldn't. Her words trailed off, her face crumpling. The Houston afternoon, a cold witness to her shattering world. Sarah's blue eyes softened, her voice steady despite the storm inside. I'm sorry, Lisa. I loved him, too. But he's been playing us both, living two lives. Two families. I'm going to make him pay. And I need your help. Tell me everything you know about him. Lisa's brown eyes were wet, her hands trembling, her voice a whisper. He travels a lot. To Nashville, like I said. But lately, there've been expenses. Big ones. Money I didn't understand. He said it was for work. But, she hesitated, her voice breaking. Do you think he's stealing from his company? Sarah's heart raced, her blue eyes wide, Lisa's words a spark to her revenge. Embezzlement a new layer to Mark's betrayal, a weapon she could use. The Houston afternoon faded, the coffee shop a battlefield. And Sarah knew she was one step closer to destroying the man who'd destroyed her. Double Betrayal. Chapter 3. The Money Trail. Nashville, Tennessee. My 2025. The Nashville morning was a blur of gray clouds and drizzle. The city's skyline muted through the window of Sarah Thompson's home office, a fitting backdrop for the storm brewing in her life. She sat at her desk, her blue eyes fixed on a spreadsheet, her blonde hair loose, her hands steady as she traced the financial trail of her husband. Mark, at 36, Sarah was an accountant whose precision had always been her strength. But now it was her weapon, a tool to unravel Mark's betrayal, a double life with another family in Texas, a secret that had shattered her world. Lisa Harper sat across from her, her brown eyes shadowed, her dark hair pulled back, her hands clutching a cup of tea. At 34, Lisa was a third-grade teacher from Houston, the other woman in Mark's life, now an unlikely ally in Sarah's quest for revenge. The revelation of Mark's dual existence had broken them both. But Lisa's information, Mark's unexplained expenses, had given Sarah a new lead. Embezzlement. I went through his bank statements, Lisa said, her voice low, her brown eyes wet. There were transfers, big ones to an account I didn't recognize. He said it was for work, but I don't know. Sarah. It didn't feel right. Sarah's blue eyes narrowed, her fingers flying over the keyboard, her voice steady. He's been stealing, Lisa. I've seen patterns like this before. Transfers to shell accounts, hidden under fake invoices. Mark's firm, Grayson and Associates, has millions flowing through it. If he's siphoning money, it's to fund his double life, your house, your kid, his lies. Lisa's brown eyes widened, her hands trembling, her voice a whisper. Stealing from his company. Oh, God. Sarah, what if he gets caught? What happens to Ethan? To me, Sarah's heart twisted, her blue eyes softening, her voice firm. He won't get away with it. Lisa, I'm going to make sure of that. I'll tip off the company. Let them handle him. But first, we need more proof, something solid. They worked through the morning. Sarah's accounting skills, a scalpel. Cutting through Mark's financial web, she found the shell account. Traced the transfers, hundreds of thousands over 5 years. Funneled through dummy projects. The money had paid for Lisa's house, Ethan's preschool, Mark's trips between Nashville and Houston. Sarah's blue eyes blazed, her hands clenching. The Nashville rain, a cold witness to her resolve. Lisa hesitated, her brown eyes darting, her voice low. There's something else. Sarah, Mark? He mentioned a project. A big one. With your brother Brian. Right. They worked together at Grayson. He said it was a game changer. But he wouldn't tell me more. Sarah's heart stopped. Her blue eyes wide. Her hands freezing on the keyboard. Brian, her brother. 40! A senior accountant at Grayson and Associates. Her confidant since childhood. Brian, she said, her voice trembling, her mind racing. He knew about this, about Mark. Before Lisa could answer, Sarah's phone buzzed. A message from the unknown number. Your brother knows more than you think. Look closer. Her blue eyes widened, her heart racing, the cryptic words a dagger in her chest. Brian, her own brother, implicated in Mark's crimes. A betrayal that cut deeper than Mark's lies. The Nashville rain fell harder. The office a battlefield, and Sarah knew her revenge had just taken a darker turn. Double Betrayal. Chapter 4. The Brothers' Secret. Nashville, Tennessee. May 2025. The Nashville evening was a tapestry of twilight and streetlights. The city's hum a distant echo through the windows of Brian Thompson's downtown apartment, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside. Sarah Thompson stood in the living room, her blue eyes blazing, her blonde hair loose, her hands clenched as she faced her brother. At 36, Sarah was a woman scorned. Her husband Mark's betrayal a double life, with another family in Texas, fueling her quest for revenge. But the cryptic message implicating Brian, her brother, had turned her rage inward, a betrayal that cut deeper than Mark's lies. Brian, 40, sat on the couch, his brown eyes wary, his dark hair neatly combed, his suit crisp despite the late hour, a senior accountant at Grayson and Associates. Mark's firm. Brian had always been Sarah's rock, her confidant through childhood fights and adult struggles. But now, as Sarah held up the printed emails she'd found on his laptop, her blue eyes were cold, her voice trembling with rage. "Explain this, Brian," she said, her hands shaking. "Emails between you and Mark, covering up transfers, hundreds of thousands, siphoned from the company. You knew he was stealing, didn't you? You helped him." Brian's brown eyes widened, his hands raising in defense, his voice steady but strained. "Sarah, I swear I didn't know what he was doing. Those emails, I thought the transfers were legit, part of a project he was working on. I trusted him. He's family." Sarah's blue eyes narrowed, her voice a growl. "Family? He's a liar. Brian a cheat with another wife, another kid in Texas. And you're my brother. How could you not tell me? How could you let him do this to me?" Brian stood, his brown eyes glistening, his voice breaking. "I didn't know about Texas. Sarah, I swear, I trusted him, like you did. If I'd known, I'd have stopped him. You have to believe me." Sarah's heart twisted, her blue eyes wet, her hands trembling as she threw the emails at him, the papers scattering across the hardwood floor. "Believe you? How can I? Brian, you're either lying or you're a fool. Either way, you're part of this. You're going to help me take him down, or I'll take you down." Brian's face crumpled, his brown eyes pleading, his voice a whisper. "Sarah, please, I'll help you. Whatever you need. But don't do this alone. Mark, he's dangerous. You don't know what he's capable of." Sarah's resolve hardened, her blue eyes cold, her voice firm. "I'm tipping off Grayson tomorrow. Brian, they'll investigate. And Mark will pay. You'd better decide where you stand, family." Or him, as she turned to leave. Her phone rang, Lisa's name flashing on the screen. Sarah answered, her blue eyes wide, Lisa's voice trembling through the line. "Sarah, Mark's gone," she said, her voice breaking. "He came home, saw the photos you sent me, and he just left. I think he knows we're onto him." Sarah's heart raced, her blue eyes darting. The Nashville night a cold witness to her fear. Mark was on the run, and her revenge was slipping through her fingers. But the fight was far from over. Double Betrayal. Chapter 5. The Disappearance. Arkansas. My 2025. The Arkansas countryside was a patchwork of green hills and winding roads. The late spring air thick with the scent of pine and earth. A deceptive calm that belied the storm chasing Sarah Thompson. She sat in the passenger seat of Lisa Harper's rental car, her blue eyes fixed on the GPS, her blonde hair pulled back, her hands clenched in her lap. At 36, Sarah was a woman consumed by revenge. Her husband Mark's betrayal, a double life with Lisa's family in Texas, driving her to destroy him. But Mark had vanished, leaving behind a trail of lies and a cryptic letter. And Sarah was determined to find him. Lisa drove, her brown eyes shadowed, her dark hair loose, her hands gripping the wheel. At 34, Lisa was a teacher from Houston, the other woman in Mark's life. Now Sarah's reluctant partner in this hunt. "He's here, Sarah," she said, her voice low, glancing at the GPS. "This cabin, it's the only place he'd go. His family used to vacation here." Sarah's blue eyes narrowed, her voice steady despite the storm inside. "He can't run forever. Lisa, Grayson's investigating him thanks to the evidence we gave them. He's finished, whether he's here or not. They'd tipped off Grayson and Associates the day before. Sarah's accounting skills providing a damning dossier of Mark's embezzlement, hundreds of thousands siphoned over years to fund his dual lives. The company had launched an internal investigation, and Sarah had traced Mark's last withdrawal to Arkansas, a desperate flight to a family cabin. The Arkansas hills loomed. The cabin, a small wooden structure by a lake, its windows dark, its silence ominous. They approached, Sarah's blue eyes darting, her hands clutching the letter Mark had left in Houston. "You won't destroy me, Sarah. I'll protect what's mine." The door was unlocked, the cabin empty, the air stale with the scent of dust and regret. A single note sat on the table. Mark's handwriting scrawled, "I'll be back for what's mine. Don't follow me." Sarah's heart raced, her blue eyes wide. The Arkansas night, a cold witness to her fear. Lisa's brown eyes glistened, her voice trembling. "He's gone. Sarah, what now? What if he comes for Ethan?" Before Sarah could answer, her phone rang, a Grayson executive on the line, his voice tense. "Mrs. Thompson, we've found more evidence," he said, his words a blow. "Your brother, Brian, he signed off on some of the transfers. He's implicated, too." Sarah's heart stopped, her blue eyes streaming, her hands trembling as she hung up. Brian, her brother, her ally, had betrayed her, too, a double blow that left her reeling. The Arkansas night darkened. The cabin, a tomb of secrets, and Sarah knew her revenge had just become a war on two fronts. Double Betrayal. Chapter 6. The Parents' Verdict. Nashville, Tennessee. May 2025. The Nashville morning was a canvas of pale sunlight and chirping birds. The suburban street lined with blooming azaleas, a deceptive peace that belied the storm brewing in Sarah Thompson's heart. She stood on the porch of Mark's parents' home, her blue eyes shadowed, her blonde hair pulled back, her hands clutching a folder of evidence. At 36, Sarah was a woman driven by revenge. Her husband Mark's betrayal, a double life, with another family in Texas, pushing her to destroy him. Today, she'd deliver the final blow, turning his parents, the Harrises, against him. Lisa Harper stood beside her, her brown eyes nervous, her dark hair loose, her hands fidgeting with her purse. At 34, Lisa was Mark's other wife, a teacher from Houston, now Sarah's ally in this vendetta. "Are you sure about this, Sarah?" she asked, her voice low, her brown eyes darting to the door. "They might not believe us. Mark's their son. They'll take his side." Sarah's blue eyes hardened, her voice steady. "They'll believe the truth. Lisa, photos, documents, your story, they can't ignore it. Mark's done, and I want them to see who he really is." The door opened, revealing Margaret Harris, 65, her gray eyes warm, her silver hair neatly styled, her smile faltering as she saw Sarah's expression. "Sarah, dear," she said, her voice soft. Stepping aside, "What's this about? And who's this?" Sarah stepped in, her blue eyes cold, her voice firm. "This is Lisa, Margaret, Mark's other wife from Houston. We're here to tell you what your son's been doing." The living room was a time capsule of family photos and heirlooms, a stark contrast to the chaos Sarah brought. Margaret and her husband, Tom, 67, his green eyes like Mark's, sat on the couch, their faces pale, as Sarah laid out the evidence photos of Mark with Lisa and Ethan. Lease agreements, utility bills, the birth certificate. Lisa's voice trembled as she spoke, her brown eyes wet, recounting her life with Mark, unaware of Sarah's existence. Margaret's gray eyes streamed, her hands trembling, her voice breaking. "No, no, my Mark wouldn't do this. He's a good boy, a good husband. This can't be true." Tom's green eyes hardened, his voice a growl. "If it's true, he's no son of mine. Sarah, Lisa, we need to hear everything." They listened, the Nashville morning a cold witness, and by the end, Margaret sobbed, Tom's face a mask of rage. "He's done," Tom said, his voice low, his hands clenching. "We're disowning him. Sarah, he's no longer welcome here." Sarah's blue eyes softened. A hollow victory, her heart heavy with Brian's betrayal still looming. As they left, her phone buzzed. A message from Mark. "You'll regret this. Sarah, I'll ruin you." Her blue eyes widened, her heart racing. The Nashville morning, a cold witness to a new threat. A battle far from over. Double Betrayal. Chapter 7. The Threat. Nashville, Tennessee, May 2025. The Nashville night was a cloak of darkness and distant thunder. The city's skyline a faint glow through the storm. A fitting backdrop for the fear-gripping Sarah Thompson's heart. She sat in her living room, her blue eyes darting to the windows, her blonde hair loose, her hands clutching her phone. At 36, Sarah was a woman on edge. Her husband Mark's betrayal, a double life with another family in Texas, driving her revenge. But his threat, "I'll ruin you," had turned her victory hollow, a new battle looming as he remained on the run. Lisa Harper sat on the couch, her brown eyes wide, her dark hair pulled back, her hands trembling as she held a glass of water. At 34, Lisa was Mark's other wife, now Sarah's ally, her voice trembling as she spoke. "Sarah, what if he comes after Ethan?" she said, her brown eyes wet. "He knows we turned his parents against him. He's desperate." Sarah's blue eyes hardened, her voice steady despite the storm inside. "He won't touch Ethan. Lisa, I've hired a private investigator, Daniel Reed. He's tracking Mark. We'll find him before he can do anything." Daniel Reed, a grizzled ex-cop in his 50s, had called earlier, his voice gruff through the line. "Mark's been in touch with a lawyer in Arkansas," he'd said, his words a blow. "Looks like he's preparing to fight you. Sarah, custody battle. Maybe divorce. He's planning to hit you where it hurts." Sarah's heart raced, her blue eyes wide, her hands clenching. Custody, she and Mark had no children, but he might use Ethan against Lisa, or worse, drag Sarah through a legal nightmare. She turned to Brian, her brother, who sat in an armchair, his brown eyes shadowed, his suit rumpled. At 40, Brian was a senior accountant at Mark's firm, implicated in the embezzlement, a betrayal Sarah couldn't forgive. "Brian, tell me the truth," she said, her blue eyes blazing, her voice trembling. "You knew about Mark stealing. Did you help him? Did you cover for him?" Brian's brown eyes glistened, his hands trembling, his voice breaking. "I suspected. Sarah, I did," he said, his words a confession. "I saw the transfers, questioned him, but I didn't act. I was scared. Scared of losing my job, my career. I didn't know about Texas. I swear." Sarah's blue eyes streamed, her hands clenching, her voice a growl. "You're my brother. Brian, you should have protected me, not him. You're as guilty as he is." Before Brian could respond, a knock echoed. A package left at the door. Sarah opened it, her blue eyes widening, her hands trembling as she pulled out photos, her and Lisa, walking in Nashville, shopping in Houston, unaware they were being watched. A note fell, Mark's handwriting scrawled, "I know where you are." Her blue eyes streamed, her heart racing. The Nashville night, a cold witness to a threat she couldn't escape. Double Betrayal. Chapter 8. The Hunt. Memphis, Tennessee. May 2025. The Memphis evening was a cacophony of honking cars and neon lights. The city's streets alive with the hum of Beale Street. A stark contrast to the desperation driving Sarah Thompson. She stood outside a rundown motel on the city's outskirts, her blue eyes scanning the parking lot, her blonde hair hidden under a hoodie, her hands trembling with anticipation. At 36, Sarah was a woman consumed by revenge. Her husband Mark's betrayal, a double life, with another family in Texas, pushing her to hunt him down. He'd threatened her, stalked her, and now, with the help of private investigator Daniel Reed, she'd tracked him to Memphis. Lisa Harper stood beside her, her brown eyes wide, her dark hair pulled back, her hands clutching her phone. At 34, Lisa was Mark's other wife, now Sarah's partner in this relentless pursuit, her voice trembling as she spoke. "Daniel said he checked in yesterday," she said, her brown eyes darting to the motel. Room 12. But what if he's already gone? Sarah's blue eyes hardened, her voice steady despite the storm inside. He's here. Lisa, I can feel it. We're ending this tonight. Daniel Reed, a grizzled ex-cop in his 50s, approached, his gray eyes sharp, his leather jacket creased, his voice gruff. He was here. Sarah, he said, his words a blow. But he checked out an hour ago. Left this. He handed her a note. Mark's handwriting scrawled. You can't stop me. Sarah's blue eyes widened, her hands trembling, her heart racing as she crumpled the note. The Memphis night, a cold witness to her frustration. Mark was always one step ahead, a ghost slipping through her fingers. But as they turned to leave, her phone buzzed. A Grayson and Associates executive on the line. His voice tense. Mrs. Thompson, we've terminated your brother, Brian, he said. His words a dagger. His involvement in Mark's embezzlement signing off on transfers, it's undeniable. We're sorry. Sarah's blue eyes streamed, her hands clenching, her voice breaking as she hung up. Brian, her brother, her betrayer, had lost everything. Their relationship fractured beyond repair. She turned to Daniel, her blue eyes blazing, her voice firm. Find him. Daniel, wherever he's going, we'll follow. Daniel nodded, his gray eyes steady, his voice gruff. I've got a lead. Sarah, he's booked a flight to Mexico tomorrow. Using the embezzled money to start over, we can catch him at the airport. Sarah's blue eyes hardened, her heart racing. The Memphis night, a cold witness to her resolve. Mark was running, but she'd chase him to the ends of the earth if it meant justice. Double Betrayal. Chapter 9. The Confrontation. Memphis, Tennessee, May 2025. The Memphis International Airport buzzed with the chaos of travelers and announcements. Its sterile halls a battleground for Sarah Thompson's final stand. She ran through the terminal, her blue eyes scanning the crowd, her blonde hair loose, her hands trembling with adrenaline. At 36, Sarah was a woman driven by revenge. Her husband Mark's betrayal, a double life, with another family in Texas, leading her to this moment. He'd embezzled money, threatened her, and now, with a flight to Mexico booked, he was trying to escape justice. Lisa Harper ran beside her, her brown eyes wide, her dark hair flying, her hands clutching her phone. At 34, Lisa was Mark's other wife, now Sarah's ally, her voice trembling as she shouted, Sarah, there he's at the food court. Daniel Reed, the private investigator, led the way, his gray eyes sharp, his leather jacket flapping, his voice gruff. Don't let him get to security, he'll be gone. They spotted Mark at a fast food counter, his green eyes darting, his dark hair disheveled, his suitcase at his feet. He saw them, his face paling, and bolted, weaving through the crowd. Sarah's blue eyes blazed, her legs pumping, her voice a shout as she caught up, grabbing his arm in a crowded airport restaurant. Mark, stop, she said, her voice trembling with rage, her hands shaking. It's over. Everyone knows your parents, your company, the police. You're done. Mark's green eyes widened, his hands raising, his voice desperate. Sarah, please, I can explain, he said, his words a plea. I did it for us, for both families. The money, the lies, I had to keep everything together. Sarah's blue eyes streamed, her hands clenching, her voice a growl as travelers stared. The Memphis airport, a cold witness. Together, you destroyed us. Mark, you stole. You lied. You broke us. And Brian helped you. The police are coming. You're going to pay. Mark's face crumpled, his green eyes glistening, his voice breaking as security approached. Cuffs in hand. I'm sorry. Sarah, he whispered, his hands trembling as they led him away. I never meant for this. Later that night, Sarah and Lisa gathered both families, Lisa and Ethan, Mark's parents, Margaret and Tom, and Brian at a hotel conference room in Memphis. The air was thick with tension, Margaret's gray eyes wet, Tom's green eyes hard, Brian's brown eyes shadowed. Sarah's blue eyes blazed as she spoke, her voice trembling, laying out Mark's crimes, Brian's complicity, the web of lies that had shattered them all. Brian stood, his brown eyes glistening, his voice breaking. I was wrong. Sarah, he said, his hands trembling. I knew, and I didn't act. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. The Memphis night was a cold witness. The families fractured. The confrontation. A battle with no winners. Double betrayal. Chapter 10. The Cost of Revenge. Nashville, Tennessee, June 2025. The Nashville morning was a soft wash of sunlight and birdsong. The city waking to a new day, a deceptive calm that belied the emptiness in Sarah Thompson's heart. She sat on her porch, her blue eyes distant, her blonde hair loose, her hands clutching a letter from Mark, its words a final confession. At 36, Sarah had won her revenge. Mark, her husband, arrested for embezzlement, his double life with another family in Texas exposed. But the victory was hollow, the cost higher than she'd imagined. Mark's trial had been swift. The evidence, Sarah's dossier, Grayson and Associates' investigation damning. He'd been sentenced to 10 years, his green eyes hollow as he'd looked at her in court, his voice a whisper. I'm sorry. Brian, her brother, was under investigation, his career ruined, their relationship fractured beyond repair. Mark's parents, Margaret and Tom, had cut all ties, their gray and green eyes cold as they'd walked away. Lisa, Mark's other wife, had moved with Ethan to Florida, seeking a fresh start, her brown eyes wet as she'd hugged Sarah goodbye. The letter in Sarah's hands was Mark's last attempt at redemption, his handwriting shaky. I thought I could protect both families. Sarah, the money, the lies, it was for you, for Lisa, for our lives. But I was greedy, and I lost everything. Forgive me. Sarah's blue eyes streamed, her hands trembling. The Nashville morning, a cold witness to her regret. She'd destroyed Mark, exposed his lies. But at what cost? Her family, Brian, the Harrises, was gone, her trust shattered, her life a hollow shell. She stood, her blue eyes fixed on the horizon, the letter falling to the porch, her heart heavy with a question that echoed in the silence. Was revenge worth it? The Nashville morning offered no answers. The city moving on, leaving Sarah to face the ruins of her victory, a double betrayal that had broken more than just her heart.